Ring of Honor All-Star Extravaganza 2004. We are closing out the trilogy of CM Punk and Samoa Joe. Maybe one of the best trilogies of all time. Who knows? We'll volley that back and forth a little bit on this episode. We also got Bryan Danielson versus Homicide. We got the tag titles on the line. We got the pure title on the line. Special K is in turmoil. My goodness. Bobby Heenan is here. Jim Cornette is here. Jerk Jackson is here. I mean, finally. Everyone's been asking. The hardest part of the ring. What are your thoughts on Jerk Jackson? We're going to get it here. So you better strap in, strap on. It's the Apron Bump Podcast.
And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock this. Let's get it started.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump Podcast. I, of course, am your host, the hardest part of the ring, Kyle. How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's having a good November so far. How's No Nut November going for you folks, huh? Never understood that. A whole month, that can't be healthy. A whole month of just bottling it up, and then where does it go? I feel like after 15 days or so, you would start to taste it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you're eating your Honey Nut Cheerios, and it's why are these tasting like pennies? But anyways, speaking of eating cum, all right, whatever. We got Ring of Honor today, 2004 All-Star Extravaganza 2, occurring in 2004, December of 2004. Now, just a little programming note here. Typically, when there's 2 Ring of Honor shows, 2 or more, in 1 month, we usually just kind of consolidate everything and do kind of just one big orgiac episode, kind of touching on the major bullet points, the threads throughout the month, basically combining 2 reviews into one. And I had every intention of doing that here with All-Star Extravaganza and Final Battle, which occurs a few weeks after this. However, it just so happens that both of these shows individually are very significant, very loaded, and personally, I feel like they each deserve their own review, as I don't want to rush over anything. I don't want to just glaze over stuff that deserves a full-on bukkake. So what we are going to do here is just cover All-Star Extravaganza, and then in the next episode, we will touch on Final Battle, because they are 2 very historic shows for different reasons, both very loaded cards, and why rush? You know what I'm saying? Let's take a second to chew on it. There's so much wrestling nowadays. You got wrestling every day, every night, every dusk. You can't. We're being smothered with wrestling day in, day out. Sometimes you just gotta just enjoy it for a second. Just sit back, smell the roses, smell the CM Punk, and just enjoy wrestling. And we have a lot to get into with just this show, All-Star Extravaganza. Before we get into anything, make sure if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment. What is your favorite type of tree? You an evergreen guy? Birch? Pine? Let me know. Sound off in the comments. And like, review if you're watching on audio, rate, review, follow me on all the social medias, yada, yada, yada. All right. Join the Discord, tickle me on the belly button, do all those things. Let's get into the show, shall we? Chronological order, typical style, and I'm excited. It's been a while since we've just gone through a show and just to see where we are in history, because late 2004 Ring of Honor is getting pretty juicy. We got a lot of good stuff here, a lot of fun stories, a lot of fun cameos, a lot of great matches, and we're going to get into it. Let's just start from the very beginning. Oh, by the way, sorry to blue ball you once again. If you're like, hardest part of the ring, December of 04, I feel like I'm just coming in the middle of a Gilmore Girls season. I don't know what's going on. Well, let me tell you, I got good news for you, hypothetical listener. If you would like to listen to all of my Ring of Honor reviews, and I've covered every single show from its inception in February of 2002, all the way through 02, all the way through 03, and almost all the way through 04. Every single show I've covered, both just me, I've had guests, I've had other podcasts, hosts, I've had experts in Ring of Honor, I've had people who have never seen Ring of Honor, I've had Ring of Honor alumni themselves come on the show to talk about it. The early days of Ring of Honor is fascinating. It's not always good, particularly like the first year or so, but it's always interesting, it's always fascinating. There's a lot of, some of the best wrestling you'll ever see came out of Ring of Honor, so go to the link in the description if you want to get caught up, or go to apronbump.com, go to the episodes tab, and select ROH to bring you to all of the episodes I've covered chronologically. Binge away, get caught up, because we are entering a very fun era here. Like I said in the opening, we got the third of the trilogy between Samoa Joe and CM Punk. We'll kind of close out, we will close out with that match at the end of this episode. I'm excited to talk about it. We got, again, other great matches here that I laid out in the cold open, so we won't need to rehash that. But overall, this show, I thought it was very good. I thought it was fun. It was paced well. Not much more to say about it. I think we should just kind of get into the nitty gritty. We open up with Colt Cabana. Boom, boom, Colt Cabana. He's back. He was injured a few months ago, I believe, by Generation Next. Of course, the faction of Alex Shelley, Austin Aries, Roderick Strong, and Jack Evans. They injured the shoulder of Colt Cabana because of the whole Generation Next Second City Saints faction feud. Of course, the Second City Saints, comprised of Colt Cabana, CM Punk, and Ace Steel. That feud came to a head when they took out Colt Cabana. He's been gone for a while. Colt's back. Colt's pissed. But he's still Colt Cabana because we got good times, great memories, the talk show of Colt Cabana. A lot of times I don't even bring these up because they're funny, they're silly, whatever, but it's like, whatever. This one in particular, very notable, because who is his guest, you may be asking? None other than Bobby the Brain Heenan. My goodness. It was seeing Bobby Heenan, we'll talk a lot more about him later because he has a big segment later in the show. Seeing Bobby Heenan in Ring of Honor, both in these backstage vignettes and then in the Ring of Honor. I mean, it's just so surreal. It's, later in his life, he has been diagnosed with cancer at this point. So he's got, the voice as a result of that. It's kind of weaker with all the surgeries and whatnot that he's had. But he's still here. He's still got that wit. He's still Bobby the Brain fucking Heenan. So to hear him and Colt Cabana like going back and forth, it was the equivalent of a dream match, but in promo form, I guess. Bobby's like, hey, wrestling, he goes to Colt, he's like, wrestling needs people like you, people that are capable, people that can talk, people that can be captivating, and there's none of those people here, but they got you. Sensational. And then Colt, he's like, yeah, sure, thanks, Bob. And then he introduces his tag team partner later tonight, Jimmy Jacobs, who, this iteration of Jimmy Jacobs, it's Huss. He's got the silly furry boots and the Zack Ryder half and half tights, but he's here. Bobby asks Jimmy if he's dead from the knuckles down because he's got black fingernails. And then he asks him if he's a mechanic. It's a whole thing. But he's got a debate, Bobby does, with Jim Cornette later in the show. And Bobby's like, hey, Jim Cornette, he's the best talker in the game. But when it comes to success, you can't beat Bobby the Brain Heenan.
And myself, I'd like to know. I'm taking.
Well, first of all, I have a little trouble saying some words because I'm a recovering cancer patient. But I feel fine. Jim Cornette can talk like no other man can talk. He can talk better than I could ever have talked, or Jesse Ventura could have ever talked, or anybody. He's probably the greatest talking manager in the history of this business. But when you talk about success, you have to talk about Bobby the Brain Heenan. Jim Cornette, you are excellent at what you do. You carry jackets very well. You make sure your boys have soap. You make sure their socks are clean. And that's a very good job. Of course, there's a maid right over here at the Hojo's in Newark can do the same thing. So, Mr. Cornette, you're in a gunfight tonight. Or whenever this happens. And you're armed with a knife. I have an AK-47. Bang, bang. Bye-bye. Anyway, what else is new?
Truer words could have been spoken.
Just he's so good. By the way, after Bobby's done talking, like there's an actual crowd for this segment. Normally it's just like Colt in like a hallway somewhere. You like grab somebody and it's like poor audio. But this one, we're getting production now. So we're making progress. The studio audience claps for them. And then Bobby's like pointing off camera. Oh, she's got her top off. And then Colt's like, are those real? And Bobby's like, oh, one is. It's like, what the fuck? It popped me. It popped me hard. After that, before the first match, we got one more promo from Allison Danger. So Allison, for those unfamiliar, she was the manager of The Prophecy, which was comprised of Christopher Daniels, Dan Moff, BJ Whitmer. Daniels is gone, and Danger has been ousted, so she's out for revenge on her former faction mates, Dan Moff, BJ Whitmer. And, well, I think she could probably articulate it better than I ever could. So, Bartholomew, why don't you hit that clip for us?
Moff and Whitmer, I said I'd destroy you. I said this would never end till I was done. Well, guess what, guys? I still own your contracts. And on the dotted line of this is the match I've been waiting for. A fight without honor. The most dangerous match in ROH history. They haven't even done it in a year. It's so deadly. And it's here. And it's for you, baby. Final Battle 2004. It's all over. All I gotta do is go get the Carnage crew. Cameraman, you stay with me all night, baby, till I get these names on the dotted line, because I will kill Moff and Whitmer at Final Battle. Let's go!
I gotta admit, it made it move a little bit. I think I might be into it. But with that said, more on that later. But the opening match here, we got an 8-man tag team match. The team of Special K, this time comprised of Angel Dust, Deranged, Dixie, and Izzy, against some jobbers. So against 4 guys who are, I guess, Ring of Honor Academy graduates, where the head trainer is CM Punk. So they come out in black hoodies. It's like, is this fucking Dark State? But they're all black hoodies, black trunks. So they're doing the whole young boy thing where they have to like earn their colors. Like, all right, enough. Like, let Japan do that, but we're trying to be whatever. It's a whole thing. But it's a team of Anthony Franco, Davey Andrews, Matt Turner, and Shane Hagedorn. The only name that I recognize here is Shane Hagedorn. I think he becomes a manager at some point. But the other 3 I looked up, and I think I still have it open. Let me just... So Anthony Franco, his career lasted from 2004 to 2008. Doesn't seem, no ratings on cage matches, so it doesn't seem like he did a lot. Davey Andrews, who is not Davey Richards. I thought it might be, but it's not. Davey Andrews, his career lasted from 2004 to 2005. So, not spectacular. And Matt Turner, his career, I guess, is technically still going. He seems like he's kind of just toiled on the indies for, I guess, since 2004. So no one really significant here. Sometimes you never know. It's like, oh, that guy ended up being Great Khali, or you know what I mean? But no one here really came to be anything except Shane, I guess. I think he's more notable as a manager later in like the late 2000s. But so we got jobbers versus Special K. All that to say. Now, to catch everybody up on the lore of it all, Special K has been in turmoil. They have not been getting along ever since Lacey was brought into the equation, who is the girlfriend of Izzy. I need like a whole fucking graph and chart. It's a lot of just bandanas and baggy pants. It's a little hard to keep track of, but here we go. Izzy, his girlfriend, is Lacey. Lacey has become kind of the Yoko Ono of the group because nobody likes Lacey except Izzy. Lacey wants Izzy to become more serious and whatnot, or whatever it is, right? Becky, who is also a member of Special K, does not like Lacey because, you know, these hens can't get along. Am I right? Am I wrong, fellas? So there's a whole turmoil here. There's guys that are conflicting. Some guys want to be serious. Some guys want to keep partying and doing drugs because that's their thing. But they've managed to kind of stay together as a team until now because this match is going on. The match is whatever. But the Jobbers win with Davey Andrews rolling up Izzy for the quick 1, 2, 3 out of nowhere as there's chaos, people flying all over the ring and out of the ring. Out of nowhere, Jobber number 3 rolls up Izzy for the quick 1, 2, 3, which was a shock. And apparently, it's the final straw because the gals are going at each other. It's like, no, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. You're a bitch. You're a twat. Your vagina stinks. Your areolas are weird. They're going at it, right? It's a pull apart. Angel Dust and Dixie have to hold back Becky. Deranged and Izzy have to hold back Lacey. It's like, okay, the guys have quelled this for now. Now we're good. We can move on. Oh, wait. Izzy and Deranged attack Angel Dust and Dixie. Izzy plants Dixie with a double arm DDT. Deranged hits a code red onto Angel Dust, and Lacey implant DDT to Becky. And there's another random I don't know who the other one is. There's another Special K guy in there that's on the side of Izzy and Deranged and Lacey. So to sum up, it's very confusing because all the names are similar. Here's where we stand. Angel Dust, Dixie, and Becky. They're, I guess, the baby faces in this equation because they want to get serious. They at the next show, they come out in like wrestling tights and like they're, you know, just good guys, right? They're kind of going the path that Jay Lethal, because he was originally Special K, for those unfamiliar. Jay Lethal wasn't Special K, but then he became serious, and now he's like a legit bona fide wrestler. Well, now it seems that Angel Dust and Dixie are trying to go along that same path, and Becky's along with them. But Izzy, Deranged, and Lacey just want to keep partying. So we got Special K and Special K Wolfpack, or Special K the Pack. Isn't that weed? I don't know. So yeah, a lot of turmoil with Special K. I guess they're officially broken up, or I guess some of them are. A lot of drama in the Special K camp. So that's where we stand now. Stay tuned to see what comes of that. But after that, we got a Samoa Joe promo building up to his match later tonight with CM Punk. You know what, Bartholomew? Fuck it. Hit that clip, you jabron.
Tonight's the night. You know, Punker, they say you should be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. And you asked, and you begged, and you pleaded. You brought Mick Foley, and he asked, and he begged, and he pleaded, and now you got it. One more shot. One more chance to be the world champion. Tell you what, Punker. Tonight, out there in front of all those fans who are ready to see a new champ, tonight you'll realize just what you asked for. You see, tonight's a night for fighting. All the words have been said, and I'll see you in the ring.
All right, cut. Thanks, Joe.
And then Ricky Steamboat comes into the equation. Hit the clip.
Joe, how you doing tonight?
Good.
I know you've got a big match lined up tonight. I guess this is going to be the third time for you and CM, right?
Yes.
You know, and watching your first two matches, it brought back some memories of mine. The 3 series I had with Ric Flair for the World Championship belt. Your belt's on the line tonight. Thoroughly enjoyed watching you guys out there wrestle for it all. Just it came up out of respect, from an old timer and a guy that's just got the World Championship belt. If you don't mind, I want to sit out there and watch your match tonight, your 3rd series.
You got it. Of course, it'll be an honor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So Steamboat wants to watch. So I guess Punk and Joe are going to have themselves a nice little cuck chair out there for Ricky Steamboat. And he'll be there to witness, given kind of his nod of approval, which, you know, all of the rivalries that Steamboat has had in his day, it means a lot. So plus the ROH history between Steamboat and Punk, it all makes sense. So we'll see what comes of that. But after that, we got this might be my new favorite storyline here. We got Jay Lethal versus the Weapon of Mask Destruction. Mask with a K. Because he's wearing a mask. Where did this guy come from, you might be asking? Well, let me tell you. He's from Ghana, allegedly. He is out there with Prince Nana. So Prince Nana is, he doesn't like Jay Lethal. In fact, in his words, he declares war on Jay Lethal, hence Weapon of Mask Destruction. Because Jay Lethal, he beat his crown jewel, Jimmy Rave, of course, of the Embassy. Nana is the leader of the Embassy with Jimmy Rave and the Outcast Killers. With Jay Lethal, not only did he beat Jimmy Rave at the last show, but he embarrassed the Embassy. He slapped each individual member of the Embassy and then skedaddled. So he really left them with their pants down at the last show. And Nana, you know what Prince Nana said? He's like, Nana. You know what I mean? But yeah, so he's out to destroy Jay Lethal, and he's hired it's Flash Flanagan, which they don't say, but according to Cage Match, that's who this is. I've heard the name Flash Flanagan. I don't know if that means anything to you guys. As far as visually, it kind of reminded me of Dijak a little bit. Not quite as big and not nearly as athletic, but he gave me similar vibes. Kind of just a big white dude with a mask. It's like clearly he doesn't always wrestle in a mask. It felt very, very out of place. It was a very like Ligero-esque mask with like horns and shit. So we got Weapon of Mask Destruction versus Jay Lethal here. It's a fine match. The match isn't really much to write home about. Jay Lethal's fantastic though. I mean, he's on a great run here. He's had fantastic matches with Low Key, CM Punk, the Jimmy Rave match I referenced earlier. Like all of these have been really good matches. The crowd is really into Jay Lethal at this point, and he's on a hot streak here. A sneaky contender for Wrestler of the Year for 2004. I wouldn't say he's number 1, but I would say definitely a top 5. But the match itself, like they abide by the code of honor. They shake hands, but then Weapon of Mask. I'm just gonna call him Weapon with a Pearl Harbor job right out the gate. Starts beating on Jay, but Jay eventually comes back. It's a pretty back and forth match, but ultimately Jay Lethal dumps Weapon on his dumb horns with a dragon suplex for the 1-2-3. So Jay Lethal beats this iteration of Weapon of Mask Destruction and gets one over on Nana and the Embassy once again. But Nana grabs the mic after this. He's like, hey, he's pissed. He's pissed at the Weapon of Mask Destruction. He's like, I didn't bring you here to lose. You embarrassed me, you piece of shit. Which is sensational. Nana's sensational. Prince Nana to this day. But back in 04, back in these days of Ring of Honor, one of my favorite characters going. Now the next show is Final Battle. So Nana's like, hey, at Final Battle, Jay Lethal, Final Battle will be your final battle. He says he's going to raise the taxes in Ghana because remember, Prince Nana is a royal prince in Ghana, Africa. He says he's going to raise the taxes in Ghana, and he's going to make every person in Ghana give him half of their $25 a week paycheck to pay for a different weapon of mass destruction to face Jay Lethal at the final battle. He says, no one embarrasses Nana. Now, we'll touch more on it, obviously, in the next Ring of Honor episode, but I did take a peek at who he faces, because he, again, at final battle, he faces another weapon of mass destruction. That version is recognizable. That version of the weapon I do recognize, and I won't tell you who it is yet, but it's pretty insane, huh? Nothing is generico about it. If you know what I'm saying, if you sniff what I'm stepping in, ole, ole, ole. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. But it's the whole interaction of Nana, his promo stuff, Jay Lethal being great bell to bell, and just like Nana getting different guys in masks, and then the whole backstory of the Ghana and the tax. Like it's all very fun. There's a lot of effort being put into it, and I'm quite enjoying it. So after that, we got a little scramble tag team match. 4 teams, 2 girls, 1 cup. We got 4 teams. It's a scramble tag team match. It's effectively like a tornado tag match. We got the team of BJ Whitmer and Dan Moff versus the Carnage Crew versus the Outcast Killers versus the Ring Crew Express. Now, it's, again, with all of these scramble matches, it's chaos. It's like, let's show off some fun moves. Let's have some fun spots. Let's just have a high energy crowd pleaser type of match. And I believe I mentioned this in the last episode, talking about Progress Wrestling. Sometimes matches can be junk food matches. And here's the thing, folks. Nothing wrong with a little junk food every now and in moderation. A Dorito, a bonbon, a cosmic brownie. Nothing wrong with those every now and then. You don't want, your whole diet to be comprised of it. But I bring this up because, like, I don't know, man. Like just to bring it back to current day for a second. Like, I'll see, like, people are like, oh, AEW is having these, 8-man all-star tag team match. What's the story? Where's the story? Sometimes you can just have a fun fucking wrestling match. You know what I mean? Like, I went to AEW Live a few months ago, and they had one of those matches. It was like the Young Bucks and Okada versus Kenny Omega and Jet Speed. It was just a firefight. It was a shootout. It was a lot of fun spots, high energy. The crowd were on their feet. They were up. They were engaged. Did it have much storyline implications? I don't believe so. But sometimes you can just have a fun, just throw a bunch of guys in a match and just let them have fun. Let the crowd have fun. You can weave these type of matches into a card to add to the pace. It's all a bunch of puzzle pieces, building a card out. And it's a very valid puzzle piece to have. Nothing wrong with a junk food match. Just to be on my soapbox for a second, but I feel like people are like, oh, it's just a spot fest. This ain't real wrestling. Fucking suck me soft. All right? That's all I got to say about that. But that being said, scramble tag team match. And so we effectively got kind of like 2 feuds in one here. As per the Allison Danger promo earlier, Dan Moff, BJ Whitmer, they've been feuding with the Carnage Crew because the Carnage Crew have been like the hired guns of Allison Danger. At least she's been trying to hire them. So they got like their whole feud brewing. They hate each other like independent of Allison, but Allison's trying to like latch on to the Carnage Crew. There's a whole like, but so the Carnage Crew and BJ and Dan, I'm gonna call them the Prophecy. They're not the Prophecy anymore, but I'm just gonna call them the Prophecy. The Prophecy and the Carnage Crew are like fighting in the aisleway before the bell even rings, and they're fighting all over the crowd, in the crowd, all over the ring. They eventually make their way to the ring, but also you got the Ring Crew Express and the Outcast Killers, who are two like quote unquote jobber tag teams. Like they're guys that set up the ring that are like fighting for a spot, but they're two ring crew guys or two sets of ring crew guys that are competing to be the best ring crew guy. It's a feud that's been going on for like 2 years at this point, at least. So they're going at it. So you got effectively like two different matches happening, but then they all kind of commingle at one point, and you got like, for example, I like when tag team matches have this, where you have like guy A of team A and guy A of team B working together, doing one of their double, like for example, like Dan Moff and Marcos of the Ring Crew Express, they do some double teams together, which like Dan Moff is this big hulking dude. Marcos is this little twinkish boy. They're doing some double teams. They high five, and then Marcos steps on the foot of Dan Moff, and then Dan Moff slaps the shit out of him and presses him to the floor onto a bunch of bodies. You got BJ Whitmer and Tony DeVito doing the Carnage Plex. So BJ is helping Tony do his double team finisher that he usually does with Loke. So a lot of stuff going on here. You got DeVito doing a moonsault to the outside. That big bastard comes off heavy, lands heavy. We got dual stage dives by the Ring Crew, which is kind of like a coffin drop-esque type of thing. Dual suicide dives by the Prophecy. You got the Prophecy. Dan Moff locks in a figure four onto a guy, and then BJ comes off the top with a splash as he's hooked up. His legs are hooked up. So some fun double team moves in this match. And then ultimately, though, at the end, the Prophecy and Carnage Crew, they just hate each other so much. So they're fighting in the crowd and effectively are taken out of this match. And then the other two teams are going at it in the ring. By the way, in the crowd. So HC Loke hits a cactus elbow off a bleacher onto the floor, which looked pretty gnarly. And then Tony DeVito smothers BJ Whitmer with a pizza box, which I don't think I've seen that before. Very innovative, very innovative. But in the ring, the Ring Crew Express, they go for their assisted sliced bread tandem move, but that is countered into the Outcast Killers hitting some sort of full Nelson lift. Like one guy has Marcos in a full Nelson. He lifts him up, and then his partner drop kicks him, and then he slams him. It was a bit wonky, but whatever, it works. And that gives the Outcast Killers the win here, which I think is 2 in a row for them. So maybe not jobbers anymore. They maybe are no longer the disposable duo of the Embassy. My goodness. But yeah, a fun energy to this match. I liked it. Again, junk food. It was a nice snack. It was a nice Twinkie of a match. And you had a couple Twinkies in the match, which makes a lot of sense. But we progress from that to something on the other end of the spectrum. We got the Ring of Honor Pure Championship on the line. We got the champion, John Walters, defending against the Embassy's Jimmy Rave. I'll tell you this, guys. I'm loving the Pure division. I feel like it's kind of like a divisive thing, like the Pure title and the different rules and whatnot. I love the Pure division. I don't know what they're doing now with the title, but here, I love how it just adds a different layer of strategy. It's just a different thing that you're watching. It's something similar to the junk food match. This is a type of match that's not just like two guys wrestling. There's different constraints to it, so you watch it differently. So the show doesn't feel monotonous as you're watching all of the matches unfold. And for those unfamiliar, if you just need a refresher, the rules of a Pure title match are as follows. You only get 3 rope breaks. So if you use 3 rope breaks to get out of submissions or whatnot, the ropes no longer allow you escape. So you can be in submissions within the ropes or whatever, you know what I mean? There's also a 20 count on the floor. Typically, there's no countouts in Ring of Honor, but in this case, there's a 20 count on the floor, and there's no closed fists. So this encourages more pure wrestling, as the title suggests. Also, no seconds or managers are allowed. So Jimmy Rave comes out with the Embassy, of course, Prince Nana, and the Outcast Killers, but then the ref kicks them out, and they're all pissed. But we have a one-on-one match between John Walters and Jimmy Rave. Got some fun chain wrestling in the beginning, kind of back and forth. It's 50-50, standoff. Rave goes to shake Walters' hand. Walters reaches in, but Rave with the psych. Classic. We got some more chain wrestling going on. We got Walters ended up locking in a Koji clutch, but he locks it in. And I like this level of, I don't even know if this was intentional or not, but John Walters always locks in submissions like close to the ropes. So to encourage his opponent to grab the rope, to break it so that they can exhaust all of their rope breaks. So that's what he does here. He locks in this Koji right by the ropes, and Rave has to grab the rope to break it. Now he's down a rope break. But Jimmy Rave has his own strategy as well. He's mocking John Walters. He's doing cartwheels. He's getting in his face. He's playing mind games, Jimmy Rave is, which causes John Walters to get fed up and hits him with a closed fist punch. Ref gives him a warning, and if he hits him one more time, he's going to take a rope break away from him. They get back in the ring. Jimmy Rave is backed into the corner by John Walters, and the ref is trying to get in there to break it up. He has his head down. He's trying to get in between them. I don't know how I feel about this. Jimmy Rave makes a punching sound, like the ref's not looking at him, but he's doing that. And then Rave's like, oh, he punched me. And the ref's like, oh, no, I guess I'll take your word for it. And then he deducts John Walters a rope. I don't know. I feel like as a ref, you can only call what you see. I always get fed up with the tag teams, like when they make the tag sound and the ref didn't see it. But they're like, no, you heard the tag. It's a huge pet peeve of mine, but we're doing that a little bit here. Jimmy Rave continues to bend the rules when he tells the ref to check the time, which, like, what is the rest of the ref just listening to Jimmy Rave? What authority does Jimmy have here? But the ref's like, all right, I'll go to the timekeeper real quick. I'll turn my back, and what time are we at? And as the ref has his back turned, Jimmy Rave, boom, closed fist punch to John Walters, but the ref didn't see it, so all fair game, I guess. So they're going back at it. Rave hits his tilt-a-whirl into a crossface. John Walters tries to escape, but he has to grab the ropes to break it up. At this point, each guy has one rope break left. John Walters hits a sunset flip, but Rave rolls through it, hits a shining wizard for a 2 count. John Walters locks in a sharpshooter. Jimmy Rave, because he doesn't want to grab the ropes to break it, so Jimmy Rave flips out of it, rolls into a Boston Crab. John Walters flips out of that into a Boston Crab of his own. No one's trying to use the ropes. They're all trying to find different ways to counter these submissions, which is the point of pure wrestling. Jimmy Rave is in this Boston Crab. He's trying to flip out of it. He's trying to rotate out of it, but he can't, so he has to grab that bottom rope to break it. So now Jimmy Rave is out of rope breaks. But Jimmy Rave, he's continuing to fight. He hits his backbreaker, hits the gonorrhea for a 2 count. What's a gonorrhea? Hardest part of the ring. It's a page turner. You know, the move Page would do, or it's like I don't know. It's kind of like a spinning Samoan drop of sorts, but does not get the win. Only 2 count. John Walters rolls, kind of very Mark Haskins-esque, rolls into a sharpshooter. Has it locked in. Jimmy Rave's trying to fight out. He rotates out of it, but John Walters holds on. He even, Walters loses his footing, but he keeps it locked in. Jimmy Rave grabs the ropes, but he has no more rope breaks. So there's no break that needs to be happening. But Jimmy Rave, crawls through the ropes, tries to go to the outside, but Walters has it locked in. He keeps hold of it. Eventually, he like crawls out of the ring. Now he has the sharpshooter locked in on the outside of the ring. So then now they're on the floor. But Walters still has it on. Jimmy Rave's trying to crawl back in the ring. So we're in a situation where Walters has this sharpshooter in, but Jimmy Rave is like hanging like from the floor. He's like hanging onto the ropes from the floor. Jimmy Rave, the ropes aren't working. So now he's crawling to the barricade. Once he gets to the barricade, the ref is at like 16. John Walters at this point lets go, sprints into the ring. 17, 18, 19, 20. John Walters wins by countout. I mean, just such a fun strategic finish, I thought. Like exhausting all of Jimmy's rope breaks to then take him on the outside, put him in a submission on the outside. You can't win by tap out there, but you can just hold him in the submission until it's almost the count out and just let go and sprint in the ring. It's like a very WWE 2K online strategy, but it's smart. It works. And like, if we're going to like try to build prestige in this division, like I think these fun, different textures, different kind of ways of looking at the matches, I think this adds to the prestige and just the entertainment value of the pure title matches. There's so many different ways to win and so many different ways to kind of thread the story throughout the match. And I thought this was a fun way to do it. John Walters retains the title and is also the first countout win of Ring of Honor history. So we're almost 3 years into it. So that's saying a lot. So John Walters continues his reign. And again, I'm enjoying it. I love this division. I think it adds a lot. I wouldn't want to see an entire card of pure title matches, but throwing one in there, love it. Sensational. You have the scramble match. I have this technical wrestling match. What's next? You might be asking. Well, first, before the next match, well, it kind of transitions into the next match. We go backstage. Well, not backstage. I guess backstage. It's a recap video. It's a highlight video. Gabe Sapolsky, the owner of Ring of Honor, and also the commentator, he's voicing over a recap of the Briscoes being injured. So this was a few months ago at the show Testing the Limit. The Briscoes, Mark and Jay, were in a tag team match against Homicide and Low Key, the Rottweilers. The Briscoes beat the Rottweilers, but then the Rottweilers attacked afterwards. Low Key hit Jay with a really stiff kick. Now, the story that's being told is that Jay got a concussion from this kick, which might be a shoot because it was a legit stiff kick. But whatever the case is, that's the story. Jay's been out with a concussion, and they also add to the story that, when cameras were done filming, Mark was attacked backstage, and the Rottweilers injured Mark Briscoe's shoulder. So both Briscoes have been gruesomely injured, and that's why they haven't been on the past few shows. And Gabe is like, yeah, I don't know if the Briscoes can come back from this. At this point, we just gotta assume they're retired, which hearing that in 2004 and just knowing like the career that the Briscoes would cultivate in Ring of Honor, you still got Mark being a major fixture in global wrestling right now. Jay still would be, obviously, if he was still around. Like, it's very funny to be like, oh, I think that's it for the Briscoes, no more. So, but that's where we're at with the Briscoes. I hope when they come back because they're still in like their singlet phase. Like, get rid of the singlets, bring the shorts, bring the Briscoes that we all know and love. So I hope they are the kind of that I hope that's the iteration that comes back when they eventually come back. But we'll see. But they bring that up because it was Low Key and Homicide that incited this injury, which brings us to the next match. It is a number one contendership match for the ROH World Title. Got Low Key versus Austin Aries. My goodness. Now, it's funny because I remember in a previous TNA episode that I covered, maybe a few months ago at this point, I forget what show exactly it was, But I know on one of the TNA pay-per-views that I covered, there was a match between Senshi and Austin Starr, which of course are different iterations of Low-Ki and Austin Aries. I remember watching that match in TNA. I was like, man, this is like, I could just, like, if this was like mid-2000s Ring of Honor, this would be sick. But it's just like TNA version of this, and it's kind of not hitting me right. Well, here we are, folks. Bing, bong, boom. Mid-2000s Ring of Honor, Low-Ki versus Austin Aries. I think this is about everything that I hope to be. Just two shoot assholes. Just two dickheads going at it, stiff as hell, but also athletic and smooth as hell. All the kicks, the strikes. You got Aries throwing out his beautiful running drop kick for a 2 count. You got Low-Ki coming back with this classic, like, tree of woe stomp. You know what I mean? Like when the guy's in the corner upside down and you hit the stomp coming down, which the crowd came to their feet on this. I don't know if it was like the first time he ever did it, but the crowd was befuddled, just bewildered by this. So that was pretty sick. Ultimately, though, Low-Ki is still a heel here. He's out here kind of like dressed like Nelly a little bit. He comes out with the bandana. He's got the one pant leg up. It's a little goofy, but he's wrestling like a heel. He's got like the body scissors on. He's slowing it down a little bit. They get into a chop battle, but Low-Ki takes the easy way out with a poke to the eye. Takes the advantage, goes for a springboard, but Austin Aries counters with a lariat, anti-air lariat, which was just perfect. Everything Aries does, man, it's just so... I've said it before, man. I wish Aries was just like not a dickhead, because everything he does is so good. Everything just has so much snap and impact to it. I don't want to compare him to an Eddie Guerrero or a Chris Benoit or a Bret Hart, but he has that same kind of like everything feels like it means something. Low-Ki too, to an extent. But Aries here, he hits a sidewalk slam. Aries does. That's like the most like devastating sidewalk slam I've ever seen. It was like a snap sidewalk. He like, goosh, like it was just sick. It's the classic pendulum elbow drop, so smooth. Continues into a discus forearm. Aries hits this cutter over the top rope, like Low-Ki and Aries are in the ring. Aries leaps up, grabs Low-Ki's head. Aries' body goes over the top rope and guillotines Low-Ki on the top rope with a cutter. I've seen it before, but I've never seen it as smooth as Aries did it here. Like he hits this, all of these, sidewalk, elbow, forearm, cutter, into the ring, heel-o, over the top rope, 1-2, kick out. Just such seamless combinations from Aries here. Aries goes for a lion salt, but Low-Ki stops him finally with knees. Hits a German for a 2 count. Aries comes back, hits a Finley roll, goes to the top rope, 450 splash, but Low-Ki blocks it again with the knees. 1 minute remaining. I guess there's a 20-minute time limit here. Or in the last minute, Low-Ki goes for the key crusher, but Aries blocks it with a crucifix bomb. Goes to the top rope, 450, hits it this time. 1, 2, ding, 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 ding. Time limit draw. Time limit draw. Low-Ki, Austin Aries. Mind you, this was a #1 contenders match. Now, if this was like WWE, I was watching this. I was like, is this going to be like a triple threat match? You would think that'd be the logic here, but no. GMC comes out. Gary Michael Capetta, the, I guess, general manager of Ring of Honor, comes out. The crowd's chanting 5 more minutes. And Gary's like, well, I will only continue this match for 5 more minutes if the fans want it. What do you say, fans? And everybody's like, big dumb idiots. Low-Ki grabs the mic. He's like, y'all want 5 more? He's like, y'all want 5 more minutes? You want 5 more minutes? Well, tough luck, because I only signed for a 20-minute match. And he drops the mic and walks out. Oh, boy. But then later in the show, Gary's like, all right, well, I guess Aries gets the title shot. Like, this happens. draw. GMC comes out, tries to make it 5 more minutes. Low-key declines. He walks out. And for the rest of the show, we're just in this era of like, oh, what's going to happen? What's the world title situation? Who's the number one contender? And the rest of the show plays out. And then the last segment of the show, which we'll touch on now because it's relevant. The last segment, it's a backstage segment. GMC's back there with Austin Aries. He's like, we've thought about it. And since Low-key is the one that declined to wrestle for 5 more minutes, we're just going to give you the title shot, Austin. Which, like, if you were going to do that, just have fucking Austin Aries win. Like, I don't know, man. But whatever. Aries, it's a draw, but Aries is the number one contender. So we will see Austin Aries versus the champion at Final Battle. Who will that champion be? We'll have to find out together. But before we get there, the ROH tag team titles are on the line. The Havana Pitbulls, the champions, the team of Ricky Reyes and Rocky Romero, are defending against the team of Chad Collier and Nigel McGuinness, or as they were referred to at the last show, Baron Girls. Chad Collier, man, he's a sensation. If you're not familiar with Chad Collier, I've said this before, it's still appropriate. Think of Dean Malenko, but beefier. Which makes sense because Chad was trained by Dean Malenko, but he's just a bulkier guy and apparently a more charismatic guy. Because at first they didn't let Chad talk. He was just out there. He was a pure wrestling guy. He just have some chain wrestling matches in the undercard, whatever. But he's unleashed this like bumbling idiot charisma, but in the best way possible. And him with Nigel, which we all know who Nigel is, how charismatic he is. It's a weird mix. Chad and Nigel. Well, Chad doesn't seem to think. Chad Collier thinks they go together like beer and girls, quote unquote. But yeah, so that's where we're at here. Chad Collier, look, CM Punk, who was on commentary here, he even says it. Chad Collier, super underrated. I think if Chad Collier came along a few years later, he'd be a much bigger star than he ended up being. I don't even know what came of him, really. But he's so fun to watch. He's silly on the mic. He's a great wrestler. He's awesome. Pitbulls, Ricky Reyes, Rocky Romero, such a fun tag team as well. All of the kicks and the tandem moves, and then you got Nigel, who's Nigel. So this had all of the ingredients to be a great match. And it feels like it never really reached that point. Like it just felt to me watching this, because I like both teams. It just felt like it never really fully ignited. Like there was some embers here and there. We got a little smoke going, but it never felt like it caught. The logs never caught. We never had a full on fire. It was a bit clunky at certain times, like Beer and Girls, Chad and Nigel. They had some fun double team stuff. They had this situation where they were like Rocky was down. Chad and Nigel were in the ring. Like Chad would have a wrist, Nigel would have an ankle, and they would wrench it. And then they would like rotate clockwise, like limb by limb, like double team wrenches of the ankles and wrists and arms. Some fun stuff there, but ultimately I just don't think they completely gelled as a tag team. Pitbulls did a lot of good heel stuff. They controlled a lot of this match. Nigel with his classic headstand in the corner, sliding right into a Tower of London onto Rocky Romero. You got Julius Smokes, who's, of course, out there with the Pitbulls. Smokes and Rocky crotch Nigel on the post, and then Ricky comes with a slick jumping hesitation drop kick. Some fun tandem stuff. It was very smooth in that regard, but I don't know, this match didn't really catch me, with the exception of one spot. And I think we might have to look at this together, because I think we need to do a proper analysis on what the hell this move was. Rocky Romero comes off the apron to hit Nigel with something. I'm going to call it the flying cock, because that's what it looked like to me, but maybe I'm missing something. Let's pull this up here. All right, so Nigel gets knocked to the outside. Rocky on the apron. Now you see Rocky here, right? You see that shit-eating grin on Rocky Romero, right? He's out to unleash a maneuver of some sort. Let's see what happens here. Boom. Flying cock. Now, one might think, like, was he going for a Hurricane Rana? Was he going for a head scissors of some sort? Maybe a senton? But when you really sit back and look at it, I think he had no other intention than to throw his penis at the face of Nigel McGuinness. Take a look. Boom. Let's see if we can pause at the moment of impact to really get a sense of what was going on here. Jump, boom. All right. Now, Rocky, the look on Rocky's face. First of all, look at the neck of Nigel McGuinness. I mean, if nothing else, an effective maneuver. I mean, just jarring the neck of Nigel. Look how much it's bent back. Rocky seems like this wasn't the plan. He looks very, or maybe it was the plan, but look, your testicles hit a man's skull. That can't feel good either. Just my thought. I haven't had a lot of situations where I've run into that situation, but I can only assume your scrotum, balls, and wiener just being jarred against the rock hard skull of a Brit can't be an enjoyable experience. So yeah, I just don't know if we need to keep that in the playbook there, Rocky. I know he's still in AEW. I don't know if he still implements this maneuver. Call in if you know. But yeah, just wanted to take a look at that. Make sure we're all on the same page here because yeah, the flying cock. Why am I getting deja vu? Has he done this before? Have I brought this up before? Somebody's done a flying cock before. Might have been ECW or something. I don't know. But all that to say, I don't know if I agree with it personally. But anyways, that leads us to the finish where Chad Collier locks in the cloverleaf onto Ricky Reyes. But Julius Smokes gets on the apron to distract him, makes him undo the hold, which allows Ricky Reyes to come back, hits a backbreaker on the Chad. Then Rocky Romero off the top rope with a knee drop. So the Pitbulls hit a pendulum backbreaker knee drop situation. Double team move for the 1, 2, 3. The Havana Pitbulls retain the ROH tag team titles. And yeah, it's a solid match. I like the Pitbulls. I like them as champions. This just didn't connect for me. However, after the match, Julius Smokes is getting into it with some Asian fan ringside, and he completely pulls his pants down and shows his asshole. So that adds at least half a star to this, I think. So just food for thought. But speaking about food, get ready to eat because this next match, Trent Acid versus Jerk Jackson. Oh man, I think I need like a running ranking, like a top 10 worst wrestling names. Like across all the timelines, I think I need to have like a running tally of the worst names that I come across because this is going to be on the top 10. Actually, no, it's not. It's a great name. Jerk Jackson. Pretty sick. Now you might be asking yourself, hardest part of the ring, who the hell is Jerk Jackson? Well, you're being honest when you're asking me that, which might even prompt me to say, where's the lie? Bobby Fish here in his early iteration of himself, Jerk Jackson. Before Bobby Fish was Bobby Fish, he was Jerk Jackson. Bobby Fish, also not a great name. So where went wrong? What went wrong with him? I think it's just his names ultimately. But we got weird long hair, no facial hair, Bobby Fish taking on Trent Acid. Not a lot to say about this one. Trent Acid's on his way out. He's on a losing streak. He's also like, commentary's really laying it in on his gear because he's wrestling in like jorts and a tank top, which, I mean, half the roster's wrestling in fucking basketball shorts. Everyone's got greasy hair. A lot of people are wrestling in wife beaters, and the Carnage crew, Homicide's wrestling in a tank top and basketball shorts. CM Punk's wrestling in basketball shorts. The Carnage crew, they have shirts and basketball shorts. What? Because it's denim. All of a sudden, he's a homeless bum. You got a roster full of homeless looking bums. I don't know why maybe Trent is just an asshole and there's just their way of burying him, but like it was kind of annoying at a certain point. He's like, oh, he looks like he just woke up out of a dumpster. I don't even know why he's here. Like he's always dressed goofy and frumpy. Like who gives a shit? But whatever, the match is what it is. Jerk actually dominates a lot of it, most of it, until he misses a 450 splash and Trent capitalizes with a Yakuza kick and his reverse brain buster for the 1-2-3. So Trent gets the win here, breaks the losing streak, but apparently doesn't count because he's not wearing knee pads. I don't know. There is a moment here. Nobody gives a shit about Jerk Jackson, as you shouldn't. He maybe it's just because I know what Bobby Fish looks like, but him, like the long hair, the no facial hair, just the regular blue tights. It was a little unsettling to see. I gotta admit, it's like watching. I don't know if you shaved Eric Rowan and watched him wrestle or something. You know what I mean? But there's a point in this match where Jerk is he's doing the classic. He's like stomping his feet to get the crowd to like get into it, and nobody's playing along. He's stomping his feet. Crickets. He'll figure it out though. Jerk Jackson, weirdly enough, will become a major player in Ring of Honor. It might take a decade or so, but we'll get there. We'll get there. But after that, Jim Cornette comes out. Jim Cornette, because it was a advertised debate between Jim Cornette and Bobby the Brain Heenan. So Cornette comes out. He's like, whatever. I'm glad to be here in Ring of Honor. Glad to be here with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Let's bring Bobby out. So Bobby comes out. Big reaction. Everybody loves the Brain, of course. Big weasel chants, which is sensational. Cornette, they both got mics. Jim Cornette's like, I'm a big fan of you, Bobby. You're one of the best. I love you. Glad that you're here. Why don't you give us a few words? And then Bobby's like, he's putting over Ring of Honor. He says ROH is one hell of an organization. Again, just seeing Bobby the Brain Heenan here in the fucking black ring, the black and red, and the lighting and the barricades. To see Bobby the Brain Heenan here is just a surreal sight. It's like when John Tento wrestled with the SmackDown fist in the background. It's like, this doesn't feel right. But really cool stuff here. Bob thanks the people. And then it seems to be it. But then Jim Cornette's like, hey, 1 second, pal. Because it's been all fruits and rainbows at this point. We were loving each other. I respect you. Let's kiss. But Jim Cornette tells Bobby not to leave yet. And it's at this point where Jim Cornette turns the Jets on. Because, my goodness, he is done playing nice. That's the way it crescendos. I might even just throw it in here. I tend not to throw a lot of promos, a lot of clips or audio of promos here, because mid-2000s Ring of Honor, sometimes a lot of the audio can be a little shoddy and a little hard to hear and understand. But you could hear every single word here because Jim Cornette is the fucking best to ever do it. This is maybe the best promo in Ring of Honor history at this point. Not to build it up too much. It's like a silly one-off segment, so I hate to even say that, but man, Jim Cornette is so fucking good. And he's not happy with Bobby Heenan. But I think I'll let him speak for himself, because this is worth listening to, because the emotion that he conjures out of this kind of silly little segment out of nowhere is very special, I thought. Let's take a listen.
Bobby, wait a minute, before you go. years ago on a regular basis. I've started coming back to Ring of Honor, and I've started managing some of the talent here, and I've sort of got, I've been here in New Jersey, I've been in Philadelphia, I've been in Ohio, I've gone to a lot of places with Ring of Honor, and kind of got my feet wet again. And the thing I'm kind of getting ready to say is that I kind of consider the Ring of Honor ring now as my ring as a manager. I kind of feel at home here. And it's been 22 years, like I said, since I turned pro, since I became a manager. And in those 22 years, I can't tell you how many people have come to me and have said, Jim Cornette, you're great. You're fabulous. You're super cool. You're so funny. You remind me of Bobby the Brain Heenan. As a matter of fact, I've been hearing that, Bobby, for a long damn time now. I've been hearing that, Bobby, till I really kind of get sick of hearing it. I've been hearing that for a long 22 years. And so what I'm starting to wonder, Bobby, if you'll just bear with me a goddamn second. What I'm starting to wonder, Bobby, is after 22 years of being compared to you, after 22 years of being underneath you, after 22 years of people saying, Cornette, you're great, but he is better. After 22 years, I found a home ring here in Ring of Honor, and I think I'm doing great, but I'm still here in Bobby Heenan. That's why I wanted you to be here tonight, Bobby, because I wanted to ask you a question face to face, and that is, after 22 years of hearing your name and being compared to you, and you being in my way of being the #1 manager in the history of this business, Vince couldn't kill you, WCW couldn't kill you, cancer couldn't kill you. What's it gonna take to get you the hell out of my ring? What is it gonna take for you to roll over and play dead, for you to crawl in a hole, for you to drop dead, for you to turn to dust, anything to go away and let me be the guy? Because I want to be the one. I want to be #1. I don't want to be compared to people. I don't want to be compared to you anymore. I want to be the guy. And damn it, I can't be the guy. It just so happens when I'm the greatest there's ever been. And the only reason that everybody doesn't admit it is because you old fart, you won't have the good, decent manners to die and get it over with.
Whew. So, Cliff Notes, Jim Cornette, he's sick of being compared to Bobby the Brain Heenan. Whenever people talk about Jim Cornette, they're like, oh yeah, he's good, but Bobby the Brain Heenan, he's #1. And Cornette says that I'm not gonna bust you up, Bobby. I'm not gonna open you up. I'm not gonna hit you with this racket, because that's what these people are here to do. And then you see Generation Next, Roderick Strong, and Jack Evans come out. They get in the ring. Roddy holds Bobby in the corner, grabs him by the collar, is like, why I oughta. And then out comes Colt Cabana and Jimmy Jacobs with chairs to make the save. Recall the opening promo, good times, great memories with Colt, Bobby, and Jimmy. They have this camaraderie. So Colt and Jimmy come out to make the save. And now we have this tag team match. Colt Cabana and Jimmy Jacobs versus Generation Next, represented by Roddy Strong and Jack Evans. Now, in watching the show, for like this segment happens, and then it cuts to intermission, and then it goes to the Jerk Jackson match, and then to another promo, and then back to this match. So they actually like leave and then come back out for entrances, which I think is a bit weird. But I guess it was like before intermission and after intermission, so it was fine. But again, just the visual of Colt Cabana coming out with, Copacabana, and then with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Bobby Heenan coming out. Like I know I'm like beating a dead horse here, but it's just so, the visual is just crazy. Bobby Heenan coming out with Jimmy Jacobs and Colt Cabana in a Ring of Honor match. Great stuff. Great stuff. But that brings us to the tag team match. And this is the story here is that this is the first time ever that Bobby Heenan and Jim Cornette have managed a match against each other in the history of wrestling, which is pretty remarkable given how long these guys have been in the game. And that's really the main story here. A nitpicky thing that I thought about this is like the Generation Next, Second City Saints thing. Like that's something that's been built up for a while. Colt was taken out with an injured shoulder, put him on the shelf for a few months. It's like, now it's just like the background fodder for like a Jim Cornette, Bobby Heenan thing, which who cares ultimately, but that was just kind of like a nitpicky thought that I had. But this match happens. Colt Cabana, Jimmy Jacobs with Bobby the Brain Heenan taking on Jack Evans and Roderick Strong with Jim Cornette. Bobby Heenan, he's making his presence known. He has the classic chain in his pocket that he's handing to Colt and to Jacobs. Like he'll hand it to Colt. Colt will use it, and then he'll hand it back to Heenan. Then Heenan will hide it in his pocket. I mean, it's just classic stuff. And you got like Colt holding Jack in between the ropes for Bobby to get some cheap shots in, and then Cornette's getting cheap shots in on the other side. Like you might as well just have these guys in a one-on-one match, Bobby and Jim. But ultimately, it kind of leads to that because at some point, Jim Cornette gets in the ring. He wants Bobby Heenan. He's like, Bobby, I want you. He's doing the classic Jim Cornette, the really cartoony, like, well, put your dukes up kind of thing. Bobby gets in the ring. Now we got a face-off between Jim Cornette and Bobby Heenan. Again, the fact that I'm talking about this in a Ring of Honor show is crazy. Bobby lays down, I guess, to confuse Jim Cornette. And Jim's like, oh, I got you right where I want you. Hits the ropes, comes off with a flying elbow. Bobby gets out of the way. I mean, and Jim's like, oh, what the heck? You got me. We're back to the two teams of wrestlers wrestling. Colt and Jimmy, double team Bulldog, battering Ram, both generation. Like Colt will take Jimmy by the head, his partner, do a battering Ram. It sounds silly. It even looks sillier. He'll hit Jack Evans with this, and then Jack does like a backflip and flies out of the ring. Does the same to Roddy Strong. Ultimately, Colt hits the Colt 45 onto Jack Evans, which is like a double underhook brainbuster pile driver type of thing. Brutal looking. Jim Cornette gets in the ring, hits Colt Cabana in the back with his racket, tries to pull Jack Evans on top of Colt, but then Bobby gets in there, grabs the racket himself, smashes Jim Cornette, pulls Colt all over Jack Evans for the 1-2-3. Colt Cabana, Jimmy Jacobs, they get the win with the major assist from Bobby the Brain Heenan. I loved it. I'm always down for Bobby the Brain, always down for Jim Cornette. Seeing them against each other was fun. It was a lot of fun. It's weird to see it in Ring of Honor. I know I keep harping on it, but the crowd was into it. They made history there. So good stuff, I thought. Fun, silly stuff here. And then I guess we'll talk about, so intermission technically happened before, like in between the segment from the previous match and the match itself. But at intermission, Gary Michael Capetta is backstage at the embassy. Nana says he's going to have a bigger weapon of mass destruction at Final Battle, which we touched on. The Outcast Killers are proud of their win, but Nana's like, I don't care. Go get my bathwater ready. So the Outcast Killers, I mean, they're just they're the whipping boys of the embassy. And then it cuts to Sugar Sean Price backstage with Special K, the heel version of Special, I guess, Wolfpack Special K. Says they got rid of the dead weight. Lacey does, the Yoko Ono of the group. We got rid of that dead weight. You guys don't even need to talk. Just follow me. I'll show you the way. It's a bit cultish, but, you know, it is what it is. And then it cuts to Alice in Danger, following up on the previous promo from hers earlier. She eventually finds the Carnage crew, and what's their signature? She wants them to fight for her in a fight without honor at Final Battle against her enemies, Dan Moff and BJ Whitmer. And the Carnage crew, I mean, it's like, whatever, it's our kind of match. We like the plunder, we like the violence, the blood. Sure, why not? You would think there'd be a little bit more resistance, but whatever, I guess they're into it. So we got a fight without honor set for a final battle. Carnage crew versus BJ Whitmer and Dan Moff. One would think that would be the blow off to all of this situation, but I guess time will tell. Time will tell. But we got 2 more matches to cover. Ladies and gentlemen, the co-main event here is a good one. Bryan Danielson versus Homicide with Julius Smokes ringside, of course. Strap in, folks, because Bryan Danielson and Homicide is going to be a major pairing going forward, from what I understand. I know eventually I have a loose understanding of like the title lineage and like what happens where. I know these two are major factors in the world title scene in the next year or so. Also, coming out of this, they're going to have a 5-match series of some sort. But that might be jumping the gun here, because this match here, Bryan Danielson versus Homicide, is a man. In all caps, I wrote here, laying it in. Guys like this just aren't built anymore, I feel like. Bryan Danielson, Homicide, everything. I said the same thing about Low Key and Austin Aries, and I'll say the same thing here. That's why Ring of Honor in this time period is so special. Everything just feels so impactful. Everything feels like it matters. Whether it's just like a forearm, a drop kick, a stomp. Doesn't have to be a crazy top rope move. Doesn't need to be a thing on the apron, a pile driver on the apron. Doesn't need to be a crazy floor bump. Just regular moves just feel like they matter. It's just so fucking good, dude. It's so good. Like, this match starts out like pretty chain wrestling heavy, but it then progresses into just heavy strikes back and forth, forearms, kicks. They fight to the outside. Bryan whips Homicide through the barricade, which is not, modern WWE where they're like little like Jenga blocks, put up to designed to fall. These were the metal barricades, just shattering them into the crowd. Bryan then body slams Homicide onto the ramp. It's like a diamond plate ramp in the entranceway. And Homicide immediately grabs his ankle. So the thought is did Homicide injure his ankle here? And I was like, man, maybe he did. Because like it was a body slam. Like you would think he'd be selling his back, if anything, but it's like, oh, maybe he just landed wrong and fucked up his ankle here. And in the ring, because Bryan walks away from this as the ref is checking him. Homicide like Pearl Harbors him as his back is turned, but he's like hobbling as he's running to attack Bryan. Gets him into the ring, hits his face wash. Like Homicide does this running face wash kick in the corner, but he's like hobbling as he does it. And then hits him with a knee instead of a kick. So it's like, shit, maybe he's actually injured here. Bryan fights back. We got a surfboard stretch with a dragon sleeper just bending this poor boy. Bryan hits a 20-spin airplane spin, goes to the top. Is he going to go for a headbutt? Nope. Just leaps to the outside onto Julius Smokes, lands heavy as hell. Homicide's loosening the boot to give his ankle some room to breathe. Homicide hits a bridging exploder suplex with a bridge, but can't hold the bridge, so the pin is broken up because of the injured ankle. Bryan locks in the cattle mutilation. Julius Smokes interferes, distracts the ref, and distracts Bryan. Homicide back. Frankensteiner attempt, but Bryan holds on to the top rope and hits a flying European uppercut on the Homicide. And he's still selling the ankle. He takes off the boot completely now. Julius Smokes distracts the ref. Homicide takes the boot, smashes Bryan in the head with it, does a little Irish jig, and apparently he was playing possum, Homicide, which it got me. Great selling here. I mean, it was just a great, because it's a time-tested thing. Like, we've all seen, like, oh, I'm injured. No, I'm not type of thing. But this is done very well. Props to him. I will say it was kind of a weak payoff. Like, what, you're faking this injury this entire match to hit him with your boot? Like, is that not it is taken, and I've brought this up before. I think I've brought it up with like ECW and stuff. Is it more impactful to take a boot with your hand and swing it at somebody's head than to just kick them with your boot? Like, why wouldn't you just keep the boot on your foot and kick? Isn't it the same thing? No? Am I crazy? I don't know, man, but it didn't get him the win, ultimately. Homicide goes for the cop killer onto Bryan, but Bryan flips out, grabs him. He's trying to lock in the cattle mutilation. Homicide with a low blow. Mule kick. Goes for the lariat, but Bryan ducks. Goes for the cattle mutilation once again. Homicide once again goes for the mule kick. Low blow, but Bryan has it scouted this time. Checks the kick. And then locks in the cattle mutilation. And then as Homicide's fighting for the ropes, Bryan transitions this submission into a pin for the 1, 2, 3. Man, oh man. This was good stuff. Just a fun story of the injured ankle into the not injured ankle. Selling it, not selling it. And then the interesting finish, you would think it'd be a cattle mutilation submission win, but kind of threw a monkey wrench into the equation with a transition into a pinfall. So fun stuff here, man. The Rottweilers afterwards attack Ricky Reyes, Rocky Romero, Julius Smokes, Low Key. They all gang up on Bryan. And this prompts, first the locker room empties to break everything up. Then later in the show, it's announced that there's going to be a best out of 5 series between Bryan and Homicide. And every match is going to have a different stipulation. So I don't know if I would assume there'd be like a world title shot as a result, as the stakes, or maybe it's just to see who's the best. But I'm looking forward to see, what kind of stipulations we can draw up here between Bryan and Homicide. But more matches between these guys, I'm all for it. So good stuff here. It feels like Bryan and Homicide have both been, Bryan's kind of been like in and out for a while, but it feels like he's finally back. He's solidified in Ring of Honor, even though he's still dressing like a Jedi and he's not coming out the final countdown yet. We're approaching that era of him. Homicide, he always feels like he has like 4 or 5 different feuds going on at once. So hopefully this kind of like narrows his focus here. So I'm looking forward to see what shakes out with these two. But boy, howdy. Slather my tits and call me Susan. We got the main event. What we all tuned in to see. Ring of Honor. World Championship. The champion. Samoa Joe versus CM Punk. The 3rd title match between these two. And when I was watching this show, I like what they did here. They did another like a tape study kind of thing where it's like they're showing the highlights of the previous 2 matches. And in the background, you got Gabe Sapolsky and CM Punk discussing it. You got Punk like talking about his strategy, what went wrong, what went right. You got Gabe kind of going back and forth with him. To kind of sum it all up. Match 1. First of all, I guess just to sum up, both the first 2 matches of this trilogy were both time limit draws. In the first match, that ended with Punk hitting the Pepsi plunge, having Joe beat, but the time expiring. Match 2, Samoa Joe hit a top rope muscle buster, had the match won, but then the time expired. Match number 3, no time limit. And I've talked a lot about it. I encourage you to go watch the October 2004 episode and the June 2004 episode, where I cover each individual match in great detail. But to kind of sum up, match 1, CM Punk was doing this deal where he would just keep grabbing onto a headlock. He was trying to wear Joe down because Joe at that point hadn't really gone past like 20 minutes in his matches. They'd been sprints, like explosive sprints. So Punk's strategy was to grab Joe, trying to tire him out because Punk thought that he had the cardio advantage. And this this strategy was working. It was getting in Joe's head. He was getting frustrated. And ultimately, Punk got him where he needed him. He hit the Pepsi plunge, but it was just a couple seconds too late and ended up in a draw. But Punk had him beat. But Joe says, hey, you got to beat me. I don't got to beat you. But ultimately, they did have a rematch. This rematch, match number 2, Joe had Punk a little scouted here. So Punk was trying to do a similar thing with the headlocks, but Joe was finding ways to kind of break out of it. Joe was able to unleash his typical offense style, his typical style, and it was a little bit more back and forth. I would say match number 1 was mostly Punk. Match number 2 was probably the most 50-50 match of the 3. But Joe had him scouted. Joe had Punk scouted. He kind of knew what to expect, but he was still unable to beat Punk. He was pretty much just able to weather the storm this time. Punk sees this. He's like, I fought you twice. You didn't beat me either time. I deserve one more match, and it deserves to be no time limit. I don't want that to be a factor here. So let's do it. No time limit. And that is where we're at. Match number 3. Let's fucking talk about it. By the way, Ricky Steamboat's out there, as we covered earlier. He talked to Joe. He's like, I'd love to be out there for your match. Joe was like, sure, it'd be an honor. I'm not even gonna. Steamboat comes out, does this like really long-winded promo. He's still talking shit about Mick Foley because I guess they still got a feud going on in the background. It's like pure wrestling versus hardcore wrestling type of thing. But I don't know if Foley has any more appearances here. But every illusion seems like he will be back. But yeah. Steamboat's never been a mic guy, and he still isn't, but he's still ringside watching the match, and there's an important reason that I bring that up, because he does play a factor here at some point. So, Samoa Joe, CM Punk 3. Let's talk about it. Now, I know a lot of you probably know how this match shakes out, but if you don't, I'll just say this. We finally have a winner. No time limit. But this match only goes 31 minutes. Both the previous 2 matches went 60 minutes. This one, half as long, but maybe the most intense. So Punk comes out, Joe comes out. They start going at it. And Punk coming in here, you get the idea that he feels like he has Joe where he wants him. Like he's been trying to get this match. He's been coaxing him and prodding him. And he's like, now he's finally got it. He's borderline cocky in the beginning. He's playing some mind games with Joe. Like Joe will hit Punk with the chop, and then Punk comes back. He's like, he throws like a limp noodle chop, like a joking, mocking chop at him. He's like, oh yeah, you big chopper, huh? Which pisses Joe off, because Joe's like, you're not gonna take this. You don't take me seriously. You don't respect me as a champion. So this fires up Joe. He's like, I'm going to get you, Punk. And then this gets Joe off balance, off kilter, which allows Punk to counter another chop into a backslide pin. 1, 2, go. Oh, man. A lot of close near falls like that. That's kind of a thread throughout this entire match. That Joe, if he has one weakness, it could be these flash pins. Because if you recall a few months ago, it was in like a multi-man match. Joe did get pinned in a non-title match by Colt Cabana, utilizing a quick, I think it was a small package or a backslide, something along those lines. So that's his weakness, and Punk is trying to expose that and is trying to use that to his advantage, and maybe that's what he uses to become the new champion. So that you kind of get the idea that that's Punk's strategy coming into this, until they get into a strike exchange between each other, which Joe is always going to win. Joe hits him with a few kicks, a few really heavy, brutal knees, and then one like punt kick to the face of CM Punk, knocks Punk out of the ring. And then when Punk comes back up, gosh, busted open. CM, I should have known. Punk comes out here in the white shorts and the bleach blonde. Like I should have known blood was coming. Punk's bleeding, which is something that we have not seen in the previous 2 matches. We've not seen any color. Punk is gushing blood at this point, and you really get the sense of like, oh shit, Punk came in here with the strategy, but that shit's all out the window here. It's like the common phrase: everybody has a strategy until they get punched in the face. Where, and in this case, Everybody has a strategy until they get busted open in the head. You feel the desperation in Punk. Punk's trying to fight back, but Joe swarms him. He's like a shark that sees. He is a shark that sees blood. He's not a fish. He's a man. He sees the blood, takes control. Big face wash in the corner. The classic Joe Uranagi out of the corner, just spiking Punk. Hits a suicide dive, a few Olay kicks on the outside. But then Punk, he's not down and out. He blocks an Olay kick on the outside, goes to the apron. Now in the previous 2 matches, Punk has gone for he's gone for this like leaping Hurricane Rana off the apron to the floor. Both times were thwarted by Joe. Both times Joe caught him and sent him into the barricade. This time, Punk does not go for a Hurricane Rana, but he goes for a drop kick and hits it because you got to think Joe is expecting that Rana. So Punk changed it up a little bit, zigged when he thought he was going to zag, and is able to connect with the move here. And that's kind of what brings me to the genius of this match, and I guess the trilogy as a whole. First of all, if you're like listening to me talk about this match, I'm bringing up like, oh, what's their emotions? What are they thinking? What is their strategy? Like, what is their mindset going to get to a point where you're watching wrestling like that is the sweet spot, in my opinion, as a wrestling fan. Because a lot of times with not to bring it to nowadays again, but there's so much wrestling now. It's just so much. And a lot of times it feels like I'll be watching a wrestling match and it's like, yeah, it's athletically impressive, but it feels like I'm just watching people take turns doing moves to each other. It feels like I'm watching a spectacle of look at the wacky coordinated maneuvers that we can help each other do to each other. Whereas I'm watching something like Joe and Punk and it's like, oh, these guys are trying to beat each other, which is something that I've harped on before. But I need to reiterate, that's why Joe and Punk, this trilogy is so good. It's because you're not seeing crazy bumps where there's no tombstones on the apron. There's no dives into the crowd. Like there's nothing, there's no thumbtacks or tables. It's just 2 guys trying to be the better wrestler, trying to learn from their previous matches. And that's another thing. I felt like I was being rewarded for watching their previous matches because there's a lot of tie-ins to the previous matches. Nowadays, people get fooled into thinking people are doing that just because we see callbacks. Like if you're watching like a, I don't know, like a Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano, you have this goofy NXT pilled moment of like Johnny Gargano. I forget what exactly it was, but I think Johnny Gargano had like Ciampa's knee brace in his hand. And he's looking at it and he's like, oh, what have I done? He was my partner. Can I do this? And then they get together and then they like put their arms around each other. And then in the next match, it'll be like flip-flopped where the other guy's doing that. Callbacks are not storytelling. They're devices that could help you do that, but that's not a standalone. Like if I see FTR doing DIY's move, that's not storytelling. That's just a reference, right? We're seeing true storytelling in this match between Samoa Joe and CM Punk. It feels like the emotions of each guy matter. It feels like that dictates how the match is going and what the result of the match is going to be. Like that Rana, the apron Hurricane Rana spot I just referenced. It's like Punk's been persistent with this, but he's learned and now he's able to hit it and take advantage. You know, from match 1 to match 2, like Joe's like always going to try to headlock me consistently. I got to stop that. And then he did. Now Punk feels like he has the advantage, but now he's busted open and now he's got to overcome that. Match 1 was mostly Punk. Match 2 was 50-50. Match 3, Samoa Joe firmly in the driver's seat. So the momentum has slowly shifted towards Joe from match 1 to 2 to 3. So it all ties together. Again, I just felt like I was rewarded. I felt like the previous 2 matches factored into this match, which is sensational. We need more of that in wrestling, I think. And there's a spot here because Punk is desperate at this point. He's trying to get these flash pins, you know, backslides, schoolboys, 2 count after 2 count. At one point, like you feel the desperation when Punk hits a Pepsi twist and then sprints to the top rope, hits a really rushed moonsault, kind of a low angle moonsault because it was so quick and rushed. That only gets a 2 count. So Punk is trying to snap off these moves as quick as he can to like try to get out because he knows he's bleeding. He knows time is limited. So he has to finish this match now. Joe says, I don't think so, pal. Hits an... Just looking at this note makes me laugh. Joe hits a Hurricane Rana, follows it up with a big fucking lariat, just annihilates CM Punk. I'm going to throw a clip in here. Even if you're just listening, the audio speaks for itself and how the crowd reacts. You can hear the impact of the move, but the way the crowd reacts is a great representation of the intensity that this match has given us at this point.
Top tier. Joe hanging on.
Just fucking wrestling, man. Just great shit. Punk hits a mule kick to the face. Shining Wizard for a 2 count. Punk goes for a Pepsi twist again, but this time Joe ducks the lariat. Locks in the choke. Has Punk down. Has it locked in. Ref picks up Punk's hand. Down. Picks it up a second time. Down. Picks it up a third time. Down. So it seems that Samoa Joe has won. Oh, wait! Ricky Steamboat's there. He stops the ref from ringing the bell because Steamboat sees that Punk's fingers are moving. And then the ref looks back at Punk, and then you see Punk rise up. He is not out. So Punk gets up. He's trying to get out of this choke. He tries to jawbreaker himself out of it. Joe takes the move, takes the brunt of it, but he does not let go. Punk gets back to his feet again. A second jawbreaker. Joe does not let go. Punk is desperate. He can't fight his way out of this, so he needs to find a way out of this choke or it's lights out. Tries to bounce Joe off the ropes and roll him through. Nope. Joe holds on. Then Punk does the old Bret Hart Stone Cold spot where he runs up the corner turnbuckle, backflips over, puts Punk in the pinning situation. 1, 2, kick out. By God, Punk, schoolboy. 1, 2, kick out. Punk, crucifix pin. 1, 2, kick out. Magistral cradle. 1, 2, kick out. Joe counters this roll up, gets the advantage himself. Gets a roll-up of his own, kind of like a jackknife pin situation. Joe puts his feet on the ropes for this pin. 1, 2, kick out. The crowd unleashes boos. Because at this point, we respect Joe. Code of honor and all of that. He's the torchbearer of Ring of Honor, of the pure wrestling, the pure competition. But now Samoa Joe is so desperate to win, to beat Punk, a guy he has not been able to beat in title matches thus far. He's resorting to putting his feet on the ropes to get this win. The crowd does not respect it. Boo the shit out of him. There's a big fuck you, Joe chant. This is how emotionally invested the crowd is watching this. Mind you, All-Star Extravaganza 2004, the runtime on the DVD that I watched was almost 5 hours. Everything that I've covered, 5 fucking hours. There's some recap packages and highlights from the previous year and stuff too that I didn't cover. 5 hours. It is midnight when this match starts. In New Jersey, I believe this was. And the crowd is still on the edge of their seat, nails into the ground. I don't know what that means. But they're so sucked into this, and they're still so emotionally tied to what is happening inside that ring. That's why this fucking match is good. It's not because there's a lot of Canadian destroyers. It's not because there's a lot of false finishes. It's not because there's a lot of super kicks and bing bang boom and waterfall segment. No, it's just 2 fucking guys that are doing wrestling really well, laying it in, pulling the emotion out of the audience. This is fucking wrestling. So good. So I don't know. I'm getting angry. I shouldn't be angry. I'm fired up. Even just reading my notes of this match has me fired up. It was so good. Where are we even at here? Okay, Punk fights back, goes for the Pepsi plunge. Joe fights it off, knocks Punk to the mat. Joe goes for a top rope splash, and it's like the one. It was like the one misconnect of this match where he like goes for a splash, but Joe kind of overshoots it. I think Joe thought Punk was going to get out of the way, but then Punk thought he was supposed to stay there. So there was a bit of an awkward, like, Joe hits the splash with his knee, kind of. It was like, whatever. So both guys are down. Punk tries to roll Joe back in an O'Connor roll. Joe rolls through into the choke once again. CM Punk passes out at 31 minutes and 33 seconds. Samoa Joe defeats CM Punk. Finally, we have a winner. And just real quick, I'm looking at Cage Match here, and I shouldn't care about Dave Meltzer's star ratings. Give a guess as to what star rating this match got. Continue to think. Continue to think. Do you have your guess? All right. This match got 4.25 stars. Meanwhile, I just saw before I recorded that CM Punk versus Jey Uso got 4 stars. Is that even... Hold on. Let me make sure they didn't get 4.25. And again, I shouldn't care, right? I shouldn't care. And time evolves and his outlook evolves. Like, I get it, right? But it's just very funny. It's just very funny how much stock people put into this. You have people like Jordan Grace being like, "Oh, why didn't you give me this many stars, Dave?" Like, all right, enough. Britt Baker's like, "Oh, that's my goal is to get 5 stars from Dave Meltzer." But I digress. Point is, Samoa Joe retains after all of this, months and months of going at it, rematches, denying rematches. Where's my rematch? Here's the rematch. No time limit. Oh, fuck. No time limit. No time. By the way, the fact that it's no time limit, you got to think everybody's expecting this to go like 2 hours and only went 31 minutes, which is sensational. I love it. But Joe had to play a little dirty. And ultimately, here's what this trilogy accomplished, right? Joe, still world champion, still the standard bearer of Ring of Honor, still one of the best in the world, still a monster, definitive champion, definitively the best in Ring of Honor. He's a monster. This etches his title reign into history forever. There's been a lot of other great stuff, but this one really solidified it. CM Punk came out with 0 wins, but now he's a bona fide megastar. Even in defeat, he got over. You don't have to go over to get over, and this is the perfect representation of that. The Ring of Honor World title, and Joe even cuts a promo after this. Joe says, the Ring of Honor World title is the most important belt in this industry. And after this, because all of this stuff was just 2 guys wanting to be champion very bad. That adds so much prestige to this title. Now it really matters who holds this. So we've built up Joe, we've built up Punk, we've built up the Ring of Honor World title. By the way, just as an added thing, this trilogy came out of the whole Rob Feinstein situation where Ring of Honor was really on the ropes. And I'm not going to say that this saved Ring of Honor, but like, I don't know. Did it? I'm talking out of my ass. I really don't know if this played any impact, but just a thought, like, if Ring of Honor didn't put on quality stuff coming out of that, who knows if it would even survive. But it was so good. A lot of other good stuff in Ring of Honor, but this really being the tip of the anal here. Just so much good came out of this. If you have not seen any of these matches, I highly recommend to watch them all because it's worth your time, and then listen to my reviews of it, you know, while you're at it. But so Joe comes out the victor here. And again, he's cutting a promo. He's like, props to you, Punker. The Ring of Honor World title, it's the most important title in wrestling because of guys like you and matches like this. So he puts Punk over. He's like, hey, Punk, it was an honor. I don't even know if we really get a handshake after this. I think Punk's still a little upset and beaten and whatever, but then Joe goes on to call out Mick Foley. So we're still, I guess, again, this goes back to, Ricky Steamboat from earlier. I guess Foley's coming back. I don't think he wrestles, but I hope so. Samoa Joe, Mick Foley. I hope that's a match that happens. Because we're pretty soon after Randy Orton versus Cactus Jack. Like that's the version of Mick Foley we got here. Have him versus Samoa Joe. I mean, suck me sideways. Please give it to me. Give it to me. So, but he calls out Mick Foley. He's mad that Foley called him out at the last show and punked him out and whatnot. So he's like, he invites Mick to come to a pro wrestling company and a pro wrestling ring, because of course Foley's still involved with WWE, so he's kind of taking a shot at WWE here. He's like, come to a real wrestling company and be a real wrestler for a change, that kind of thing. And that's kind of where we're left at. So that pretty much brings All-Star Extravaganza to a close. We got Joe coming out world champion, going to be defending against Austin Aries at Final Battle. We got Fight Without Honor, the Prophecy versus the Carnage Crew. We got, the Jay Lethal Embassy stuff. You got Jimmy Rave Embassy stuff. Special K Turmoil. Bryan Danielson Homicide feuding. We're entering a very fun era. I mean, we're in it. We're in a very fun era of Ring of Honor, and I'm happy to have you guys along for the ride. Once again, much appreciated for you guys tuning in, taking a listen, taking a watch, taking a taste. Always appreciated. Like, rate, review, subscribe, follow. Hug me until liquid comes out of my belly button. I think that's all I got for you guys. Appreciate it. Once again, love you guys. Appreciate it. Big smooches all over that face of yours. Mwah. I'm hard.
Yeah. And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started.